What's going on, guys? This is Uchan Joku, and this is the Sneaker Principle Podcast, a very unscheduled episode. So, right now, what I'm doing is I'm going to continue in the series on my journey from teacher to principal. However, because this is unscheduled, I have to tell you why I'm doing this. Ecamm Live, which is the base of my production suite that I use for going live and recording my videos, came out with a new version that allows me to multi-stream at once, all from Ecamm Live. So I'm excited. So right now, I'm killing two birds with one stone, testing this to see if this stream that's going from here to YouTube to LinkedIn to Twitter. I think that's it for right now. That the stream goes on without a hitch. So with that being said, let's go ahead and begin this episode of the Sneaker Principle Podcast, talking about the 3 times that I almost became a what do you call that word? A principal. Yeah, it took 3 times. No, it didn't take 3 times. We do it 3 times where.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
Okay, that was strange. I hit my intro and then it stopped and moved forward. Hey, listen, like I said, this is a test run. I'm multi-streaming right now to 3 accounts. So this is interesting. Before in the past, I've had to use Restream to do all that, and it worked out pretty well. But to do this right now and know that this is going all through one space, Ecamm Live, I love you guys. Those of you who don't know what Ecamm Live is, you're like, what is he talking about? Just look it up. It's called Ecamm, ECAMM space, not underscore, but space live. So it's allows you to kind of like, produce your own shows and be able to put all the different layers and streams and the intros. Like when you see this guy right here on the screen, those of you who are watching, you see my little logo on there, Ecamm Live. My intro video, Ecamm Live. When I do split screens or bring in a guest on here, Ecamm Live. There's a fee attached to it, but the money is worth it. This makes everything so easy. So right now I'm streaming live. So those of you who are watching this, leave me a comment, leave me, whatever. Let me know how it's looking like on your end. Right now, I don't expect anybody to be really watching, but it's okay because it is the middle of the day and people are at work and are on their way home from work. So I'm going to go ahead and just start this episode. Before I do that, I just want to turn on my comment screen just in case any comments come in. Because again, I'm not even sure how the comments would come in, but hey, it's all worth it. Okay, now, today's episode of this podcast, the 3 times that I almost became principal. So as you know before, from the previous episodes, I came into education as a teacher, and my first job that I had as a teacher, I was made dean before I even set foot in the building. And I was at that school for 2 years. I did very well as the dean, had a huge impact on the culture of that school. I'm very proud of the work I did at that school on the Walton campus in the Bronx. Then from there, things kind of went left with the new principal coming in. I left and joined MS331. And there I worked with an incredible principal who became an executive principal the following year and asked me to join him at a new school. So I was at my second school for just a year that I joined my principal who was promoted and moved to another school. So I joined him at that school there and was there for 5 years. Yeah, the school was a 6-12 when we arrived there. Their oldest kids were now in the 8th grade. So I was there for their 8th grade year and the next 4 years through high school. So then that was when my first opportunity to become principal came about. I would say about 3 years into being at that school, I was hit with the news that my principal was going to be leaving. He had decided to pursue other things. And again, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I was told that eyeballs were on me to become the next principal because of all the work I had done You know, with the Con Fellows as an ally. Then I did my ed leadership program at Columbia Teachers College at Summer Principals Academy. I did that with flying colors, and I was in the school as an assistant principal. And there was an art write-up done about the school. We were the most improved school in the city based on parent and family surveys. All these great things were happening, and then I was hit with that my mentor principal was leaving, and then I was also told, like, listen, you've done a pretty good job. And this was I was told by higher ups within our network, even the superintendent, that, you know, you've done a great job, and now, you know, we would like you to consider becoming a principal and start putting things into order. I was being told this. This was my third year, at the close of my third year. So I'm thinking, okay, this is towards the summer. I mean, right before the summer. So I mean, literally, I was told, like, you need to start looking for an assistant principal. You need to start, you know, making sure programming is up to par for the next year, because you're gonna hit the floor running. All these things, and all of a sudden that summer, I didn't take a vacation. I just went in hard preparing, because I didn't want my first year as principal to be, you know, fugazi, like something like, like a dud. So I'm preparing, and I'm, you know, hiring teachers, because we need some teachers to be hired. I'm doing all that on my own for the most part. I'm interviewing teachers, I'm hiring them, and I was told to start interviewing potential candidates for assistant principal. And I was given a couple of resumes, and there was one that stood out where I was like, wow, this is a really good resume. This is a strong resume. And this person was coming with skill sets from the IB world, into the International Baccalaureate world. So at that point in time, our school was moving towards applying to become an IB school. So all that was being done, and it's about 2 or 3 weeks out before the school year is about to start. This is years ago. I get called into the borough office where the superintendent's office is at, and I head down there, and I'm putting I actually went out and bought a suit, some new shoes, dress shoes, and I was like, listen, this is the moment you're gonna tell me officially that you are the one, because everything else has been unofficial. It was like prepare for, but not being told that. So I remember going to that meeting, and I'm confident, you know. I had my West African swagger going on. I called my mother. I said, "Mommy, pray for me." My mother, she said, you know, in Jesus' name, I pray for you. You will do so well, and God will bless you. And I was ready, you know. So I walked in there. I sat down. I'm sitting there with the network leader, superintendent, and they're gassing me up, like, you've done a great job. But the thing is, when you're being gassed up, you know, not gaslight, but gassed up, when you're being, you know, fluffed up, and you're being told how great you are one too many times in the same conversation, then, you know, something's off. And it's at that moment that I realized, I didn't get this. They're not saying it yet, but I don't think I got this. Something else here is happening. So all of a sudden, there's a long pause. I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. And the question comes out. It comes from the network leader, and whose name should remain, you know, protected. And I was asked the question, do you speak Spanish? And I sat there, I was like, do I speak Spanish? To the point where I had to ask myself, do I speak Spanish? Because I don't speak Spanish, you know. And I was like, no, I don't. That is unfortunate, because the school community that you serve is majority Spanish-speaking families, and we think it's very important that the leader of the school is someone who speaks Spanish, who can understand the culture. And mind you, I'd already been in that school for 3 years. You know, knowing the families, broken bread with them, you know, celebrated, cried together in this community. And yes, there are families there whose parents, I had students' parents who did not speak a word of English. But it didn't change the fact that we were family, and I served their children and served their families. And I was being asked this question, and I was like, where's this coming from? And of course, something also to be made very clear, is kind of illegal. I cannot be, you know, within this arena, prevented from an opportunity for position because of a language barrier in a school system that is taxpayer based, and not only that, that there's multiple languages, multiple cultures. I'm West African. I had Caribbean kids. I had African kids. I had kids from the Middle East, kids from who spoke Spanish from Central America, Caribbean, South America, like the whole shebang. And I stood there and I was like, what is going on here? And I can go much deeper about my thoughts, but I sat there, and at that point in time, I fashioned myself a high level chess player, and I was like, I can sit here and lose my stuff, or I could just say, you know what, just see where this is going. And I was pretty much told, like, listen, we want to really bring somebody in here who speaks Spanish, blah blah blah, for the families, but however, whoever we bring in is going to need you because you know this community very well. Oh snap! So I know the community very well, but I'm not qualified to be the principal because I don't speak Spanish, but I know the community very well. Crazy, right? And I ate that. Some of you might think, like, yo, why would you do that? Why didn't you fight? In my mind, I knew I could fight, but I knew that it was a fight that would cause more disruption to the community than that it was worth. And I've always been a believer, if it's not meant for me, then I will stay in my lane and find that thing that is without a doubt definitively mine. So I was like, okay, fine. And then they mentioned there was a candidate that they had who was going to be coming in, blah, blah, blah. And for the most part, it sounded to me they already made the offer to this candidate. And it gave me more information. This person sounded very familiar to me. And coming to find out, the top candidate for assistant principal that I had pulled out of the resumes was who's interviewing to be assistant principal. They were interviewing to be assistant principal. They made the offer to them to be the principal, and then me, their assistant, which I was fine with. And I stayed one more year. I stayed that next year because at that point in time it was too late for me to look for something else. And in my core, I knew leaving would just be me being petty. There were kids in the community that I needed to serve, and I didn't even go out that way. And then that next year was a tough year. And that year, those 8th graders that I met when I first got there were now seniors, the first graduating class. And I was like, I cannot not be here for them. So I stayed another year, 2 years, in a situation that was very uncomfortable, that was very painful, but I stayed there because it meant everything to me to see these kids through. When I met them in 8th grade, that school was on the chopping block, and we did so much great work to bring them to be one of the best schools in the Bronx. So so that was round one. So now they graduated, and I decided to leave. I was like, they're graduating, and this is my way out. And what did I do? Actually, I didn't do anything. I received an email saying that from a recruiter saying that Clark County Schools in Las Vegas is hiring for principals, and they sent me, a headhunter sent me an inquiry type survey if I was interested. And I was like, you know what? I am interested. I am from the West Coast. My family lives in Las Vegas, even though I grew up in Los Angeles. And I need to get the hell out of New York after what I've been through this past 2 years. So I applied for the position, and guess what? I got it. I got a letter saying you've been accepted. We would love to have you in Nevada as a principal and all that. So what did I do at the end of that, after graduation, at the end of that 2 years in that situation? I packed up my bags and went to Vegas, and I got a house. I moved everything. I was in Las Vegas. My mother lives there. I have friends and family there, and I got there. I'm waiting for orientation, all different things to start, and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. I was like, what's going on here? So mind you, I just walked out of a 2-year madness into Vegas. I'm waiting. August comes, school starts, nothing's happening. And actually, school starts a bit earlier. Nothing. I think it starts. August. It starts in August. Nothing's happening, and I'm waiting for them. They're like, oh no, we're just waiting. We're still placing people. And then, by the time I know it, it's like now September. I'm like, guys, I'm at home. I'm not getting a paycheck, and I moved my whole entire life here. But there's a letter or an offer for a job, and they told me, like, listen, there was some issues that the number of people they thought were leaving didn't end up leaving, and the only thing they have for me right now is an assistant principal position. I was desperate. I needed a job. I can't sit at home. I'm eating through my money, so I took a job at as a assistant principal at an elementary school. And I was like, and they told me elementary school. And I was like, elementary school? What the heck are you talking about? My career has been secondary, high school, middle school, and I'm leaving a high school. What am I going to do in elementary school? I knew nothing about elementary school. As a matter of fact, elementary school kids, like kindergartners, preschoolers, scared me. So I took the gig, but I had no choice. And, and here I am, And it's funny because it wasn't like the assistant principal. The principal hired me. I was placed there. The principal had no choice. So I walked into a scenario where the principal was looking at me like, you are supposed to be a principal. And we're looking at each other. And you're here, not because I wanted you here. And only that you come from New York City. And I remember one day she came to my office as I was setting up and she was asking me how are things going. And on my wall, I put in my diplomas. University of Rochester, Mercy College, a master's degree in urban education, then Teachers College, Columbia University, master's in education leadership. And she stared at that paper. She was looking at it like, and at that point in time, I knew it was going to be a problem. I was like, snap. She's going to have a problem with me because I'm overqualified to be here. And a house can't have two masters. I'm not trying to be a master, but she sees me as her opposition. So here I am in a school, and in a school district where I was told I would be principal. I was accepted into their recruitment program and everything else, and I've been assistant principal again. So twice. I was there. I made it through a year. It was year 3 of madness. And after the smoke cleared, I was like, I gotta go back to New York. I can't do this. So I went back to New York, and where did I end up? At the school I had just left. That's another story. And if you want to hear that story about how I ended up in the same school that I just left, so year 4, I'm back in the same school, and I'm just gonna fast forward. It was a hot, crazy mess. And listen, you can make a movie about this. It was drama. So I make it through to I make it through from the fall. This would have been fall of 2014. Through the spring, early spring of 2015, and I'm sitting there, and I'm being abused. But again, I'm a high level chess player. I'm just sitting here saying, okay, I'm going to take this because I need to be here to find where I belong. A lot of people wouldn't have done that. Come back to a space that you didn't want to be in, but I had to. But I stayed there, and another principal that I really respect, a mentor of mine, I need to reach out to him. This man, a fellow Nigerian, who's a veteran, great principal, he happened to be in the same building, and he put me to the side and said, how's everything going? I'm like, not good. He was like, I have a friend who's a superintendent, and I'm going to reach out to her. I'm going to reach out to her on your behalf. She might have something for you. And did that. And within a week, I'm sitting with the superintendent in District 12 in the Bronx. And she tells me there's a school that has a lot of problems. They need somebody right now there. And this might be an opportunity for you to be a principal, but right now we need an assistant principal there because it's a hot mess. And we hear you have a unique skill set as far as school culture. So they threw me in there. It was mid-April, right before the state exams for middle school. I get there, and then how crazy it was. The first day I'm there, I walk in, me, superintendent, deputy superintendent, and the principal comes out. I shake her hand, and I turn around. She's gone, and they're talking to me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Something didn't feel right. Then all of a sudden, I notice, I see her, the principal walking out with a box. I'm like, wait a minute, is she walking out? She walked out. They brought me in, and she walked out. Not because of me. Whatever was going on in that building, she wanted out. And she was stuck there until they brought somebody, so they brought me in. So here I am walking to this building, and I'm like, what the heck? So between April and June, and first of all, let me tell you what I walked into. Two instances. I remember the next day I'm in the building. I'm assistant principal, and mind you, the principal walked out, so they assigned somebody who has a license from from the borough office for the Bronx, who would be the supervisor in charge, not a principal, supervisor. So but however, day-to-day running of the school was me as the licensed school building leader, as an assistant principal. So so she's in there, and cool. So I'm walking around the building, a lot of chaos. Walking down the hallway, I see a couple of boys in the hallway, and I'm watching them. They're just standing there, just chopping it up. Teachers are walking by them. Some teachers are kind of like avoiding them, and I'm like, "What's going on?" So I walk up, "Yo, what's going on? What's going on, fellas?" And they're like, "Oh, what's good? What's good?" And there's this one kid. His name was Victor, and Victor looked at me and was like, "Yo, what's popping, yo? What's good?" He was like, "What's popping?" I was like, "Yo, what's good with you?" And I'm asking him, "Yo, you supposed to be in class?" He's like, "Yeah, mister." And mind you, Victor is about my height, fair complexion young man, kind of dirty blonde afro. And he's wearing undershirt, a singlet, with his jeans sagging, tatted up. The school I was at was a middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. He was an 8th grader. And this young man looked like a grown man, like me and him could be, chilling, throwing back some cold ones. And I was like, "What's going on here?" And I noticed teachers were literally afraid of this young man. He was pleasant to me, saying something about the class, and I sat here and I was like, "Okay, now one of the things we cannot do, kids cannot be in the hallways just do whatever they want to do anymore." So I had to address that, and then I remember with this one young girl that I met. I'm in the hallway doing transition, and the school aides are telling kids to go to class. And this is I think it's the same day. Young girl in the hallway, and she's ignoring the school aides who are trying to direct her back to class, trying to clear the hallways. So I go up to her, I was like, "Yo, miss, young lady, what's good? What's good? You gotta get to class." She turned around, she looked at me, she was like, "Who the fuck are you?" And she said, "Who the fuck are you?" Part of my language. And I was like, "I'm Mr. Njoku." She said, "Oh, you're that N-word. You're that Negro." The new principal. I'm sitting here thinking like, "Oh my goodness, where am I right now?" Like, it was like Lean on Me, Joe Clark, East Side High in New Jersey. I was like, "What's going on?" And but I'll tell you this: between April and June, another story if you want to hear the details of that, I put work in that school. Like, I was there, darkness left in darkness, and rebranding the school, doing things like we had to change a lot of things about the school, and it was such a small April, May, June, 3 months, and I can say this: the school that I got to in April, by the time it was June, was not the same place. Not the same place. I had to address teachers' apathy. I had to address the admin who were there, the APs who were there who were not doing. But my thing is, I came from a no-nonsense place. I don't give them the assistant principal, or if I'm the principal, I don't do chaos. I don't do no expectations. So I did my part, and I was given fair clearance to do what I need to do to get things calm. And there were other stories of things that happened in that building that actually even made national news. That I was like, not under my watch. And when the smoke cleared, it was June, and I had teachers who were saying, "We don't know who you are, where you came from. You have done like you performed a miracle." And it's funny because then people start saying, like, those words start popping up in the air. Principal, you should be the principal. How come you're not a principal? Even the supervisor in charge was like, this is your school. This is going to be your school. There's no way in the world. But listen, I work central. I don't do this. And you have done an incredible job. You have done an incredible job. So, now fast forward, last day of school. Kids are done. It's just staff in the building in June. And I get a call from the superintendent telling me make sure all the staff is in the conference room at a certain time. We had a staff room. And it had a library. It was a library. That was, and so I was like, okay. So she was arriving right before the end of this day. She got there, and in my mind, I'm thinking, the announcement, who's going to be principal. And that's what the supervisor in charge was telling me, like, they're going to announce you as principal. I hope you're ready. So everybody's ready. Everybody comes in. And mind you, I got the call just a little bit earlier in the day, got everybody together. Here comes the superintendent, the deputy superintendent, and two people that I'd never seen before. It was a white male and a Latina female. And they walked in, and I've seen the walk. I know the energy. And I was like, oh, he's the principal and she's the assistant principal. They're bringing in a new team. So I was like, I guess I was really here to keep the seat warm until they bought who they wanted. And they all came into the room, and the superintendent and everyone, and the teachers are sitting there, and they're looking confused. And I'm just like, this is what it is. And it starts off with Mr. Njoku's done an incredible job. Like, the things he's done between April and June, 3 months, has been incredible. But that's why we brought him in, because we knew what he could do. You know, and we want to thank him, and everybody cheered and said thank you. And I did my hand wave, and in my heart I was like, here we go again. And but third time that in my mind I got played. But I wouldn't change it. Listen, I wouldn't change anything. I would have done the exact same thing. My own personal feelings doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what needs to be done for the students and for that school community was important to me. And then they said, hey, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so. He's going to be the principal. She's going to be assistant principal. They come from Leadership Academy, and they're super trained, and they're going to come here and do X, Y, Z, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And after everything was said and done, actually, it's funny. One of the teachers in the room raised their hand and said, a quick question. So if they're going to be the principal, assistant principal, what's Mr. Njoku going to be? Is Njoku going to be? And they were told, listen, Mr. Njoku is a high school guy. We have plans for him, and blah, blah, blah. Mind you, none of this was ever discussed with me. So, said and done, you know, shook hands, and Andrew welcomed them and everything else. And I was pulled to the side and said, listen, we have plans for you, and we'll talk to you over the course of the summer. And that was it. The 3 times that I was told or made to believe that I was going to be principal, and it didn't happen. And so now, what's the point of all this? Let me do my little outro music here. So, the point of all of this is there is no guaranteed path towards school leadership. Some people have that path where they do their programs in the same school and they're next, and it's a very clear path. But for a lot of us, it's like ping pong. We're the ball, and we're getting hit back and forth trying to find our place. But one thing I would tell you is this: you have to stay focused and determined. And that's what I did. No matter what, I never said I give up. I never quit. I never walked away and said I'm not going to do this. I just kept on moving, pressing forward, you know, and looking for that opportunity and making sure I was the best qualified person. And the fact of the matter is this: you may be the best qualified person and still not get it. But I have to believe that when you don't get it, it's not because something's wrong with you. I believe sometimes the universe says, that's not right for you. If you take that, things will not work out. Or even worse, if you take it right now, things might not work out. But if you just wait another year or 6 months or 3 months, or maybe 2 or 3 or 5 years, you will be in a position where you will be most successful and most powerful. So I want to say this to all of you who are inspiring teacher leaders, school leaders, system leaders. Keep pushing forward, but you never know. You never know. Because in my case, the one thing I did know is this: I was ready for it. So if it happened that day, the day after, or the day after that, or the year after that, or the year after that, I was going to be ready. And when it happened, I was ready. And I'll tell you about that story next. All right? So with that being said, peace out, y'all.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.